Just for friends and purposes. Let's see how I did my cropping worked. Why is it showing screenshot?
Because you're showing your screen.
I don't want to show the screen.
Go back to OBS. Whatever's the one on top is the one that's going to show
Oh!
first. I think.
Oh, that's how I did it. Can you look at it real quick? Let's see. Bear with us if anybody's here.
Home security and ensure my family safety is top priority. That's why I decided to try cold. I put him over.
Who is yelling?
Okay, this is what I see.
So you just see the screen.
You see what I'm doing?
You
You're
see,
looking at
you
it.
see the entire screen. So we just need to do this. We don't really need to do this, but we just do this.
That's your fix.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a fix, right?
Yeah. Works. Why are you laughing on me?
It was your idea.
What's my idea?
The theory.
It's not my idea to make a video.
Take credit where credit is due. What's up, people? Hello? How's it going? So, we just watched an episode of Fringe. I don't know which episode it was. Do you remember? Season 2, episode 13 or something, 15. It's definitely season 2. I don't remember the episode. But it was an episode where they were swapping
Buildings.
structures between the realities. Okay, so in this show, and this pairs well with whatever Dan was talking about reality diverging into sort of parallels,
Yeah.
a digiverse and a physical universe.
Nana's here.
I know. So, as far as the show goes, if a structure disappears, or is rather transplanted into parallel, then a structure from the parallel has to come back over, because the balance thing, right? So, Andrea had the idea that the thing that happened in the early 2000s that involved some things happening,
Some buildings.
some buildings doing some things, she proposed the idea that this is what happened. So these buildings, 2 or 3 buildings, I can't remember the exact number, something.
3.
These buildings actually went to the other side, and because, well, I don't know for sure that this is a thing, but I've heard some of the, what do you call them, super soldiers describe things where they had missions and they were given like 40 tries and they had time control technology. So they'd go in to, say, raid a bad guy's compound. Bad guy saw him coming, so they literally rewound the time, went back, tried
Try it
again,
again.
up to like 30 or 40 times, right? So, our theory, or her theory, and I'm coloring some areas in,
It's not a theory. I just popped out
thought.
with a maybe.
it's maybe. creative
An idea.
interpretation of past events. So the theory would be these structures actually disappeared, just blink, and then there's a big hole in the ground, right? And so, as probably would happen in the timeline where this happened, people around the area would see, blink, the building's gone, and what would they do?
Freak out.
They would lose their shit. People would faint, some of them would probably have heart attacks, and it would be a huge pandemonium. So, with this time travel tech,
You can go rewrite memories.
you would go back, you'd figure out when this thing is going to start, you'd go back, and you would use your, what's the word? Project Bluebeam tech to beam right before the building, or perhaps even overlay it with the exact replica of the building, maybe even before it disappears, and you would beam in a 3D replica of the building.
Or you wouldn't even have to do that. You could just do that for the TV screens.
No, because there would be
And then
people on the ground.
people on the ground can have their memories rewritten.
Yeah, but we don't. Okay, that's a possibility. But we could use the mind wipe thing like for everything, and then nobody would ever know what's going on.
We don't know what's going on ever.
Okay, well, according to this theory, you would Project Bluebeam in some structures, and then you'd Project Bluebeam some, and then you'd make some sort of explosion-looking things, and you'd put pictures out, and you would make a Project Bluebeam replication, or rather creation of buildings falling at the speed of gravity, free fall. Because that's how buildings fall when they're hit with objects, and steel melts and all this stuff, right? And then once you've done all that, then what you'll have left is a big old crater,
Which we did.
which we did. But the thing I brought up was that, according to this theory, as Walter said, as Walter said, there needs to be a balance. So if these structures were taken out during this time period, then in the parallel reality or in the AI digiverse with duplications and replications of everybody and everything, they would need to have something from this reality come into theirs.
Yeah, and then we started talking about, are there only two, or are there multiple, like infinite
Right, sorry.
multiples?
Yes, and I said that wrong. Something is leaving here going to there, but we would have to have something come from there to here as well to balance it out. So if you were to look up this theory to see if there's any veracity to it, then you would have to find did any buildings magically appear during that time. And of course, if you can sort of mask the thing that's happening with them leaving, then probably they would do the same thing with buildings coming in, right?
Yeah, because I've even heard people that are like, Mandela affected, that like they walk down their street one day and suddenly there's a house that wasn't there yesterday, and it didn't get built in a day. It's like old.
Right.
It looks old, but they've never seen it on their street until now. So
And-
that could happen where it just poofed in.
Right.
From the other one.
And so maybe when the people who are supposed to be monitoring these things for mysterious objects appearing and disappearing, sometimes some slip through the cracks, right? And you can't, for whatever reason. I'm sure there's a limited amount of ability to go in and cover things up and mask things.
Well, the first one, when it came in, it put two buildings together, and that's why the people, their bodies and their body doubles were meshed together.
Yeah, it brought the universes parallels together and melded them in the same spot because it didn't work properly.
It did, but then that meant that the building was going to happen. Because one moved in the exact same spot, then another one from here, or from this one was going to move to the other one, probably to the same spot, no matter what's there.
Right. So if it had worked properly, when we saw the second building disappear that she got to in time, something would have come and taken its place. Like the building should have come in, like the one from the other side should have greeted it right there.
No. I don't think it has a proper way to work. That's just how it works.
Well, that's how you would do it if you didn't want things fusing together.
Yeah, but so they don't know what they're doing, basically.
Yeah.
They want to know what show we're watching.
Fringe. And then part 2 of the theory is, since we're talking about NPCs and AI duplicates of everybody, part 2 of the theory is that since we have a special thing going on in the news right now, and we have talk of the duplicate reality that is being created or has already been created by Metaverse, or not rather by Metaverse, but Metaverse is like the indication that it's happening or has happened. The idea would be that when people take a special thing, like a special drink or something, or they, go under some hypnosis, they would,
You can say Coke.
their consciousness would transfer from here when they take the thing to the other side, and theoretically the AI consciousness or consciousness replicator would come here to this side, so there would just be a switcheroo, and then on this side it would appear like NPCs, although they look exactly the same, but they'd be computer consciousness, and then on that side the people would be in a digital universe, but as has already been discussed, we can't necessarily tell the difference. So they might not know that they're in the digital universe, and we might not know that we're in the organic universe, and
Or vice versa.
or vice versa. And we don't know. We wouldn't know exactly how or when the switches were happening. And this would also nicely explain Mandela effects, because if there's 2 universes that are identical, they're trying to be identical. They're not going to get every single detail perfectly.
Yeah, and then we were saying, like, Emily was saying, there's some of us that maybe travel back and forth between to like check and see how it's going.
See how your other half
Report
is
back.
doing.
Yeah. Or your other multiples. I don't know. I don't know if it's multiple or if it's just one.
And then the other part of the theory as well, as with Aurora has talked about, with her clone things happening to the clone, and then she's experiencing sensations on this side. Perhaps that's just, like I was saying, there's some sort of war games or maybe actual war. But then if it's happening in the digiverse and it's like war, is it actually war because it's like a game in a sense, because it's not physical? Or maybe they don't know that they're on the other side and they're just doing what they're doing. But you probably retain some sort of a connection between your double on the other side, maybe share some telepathic communication. So if something's happening to the other side, then you can probably at least open up channels to experience to some extent what the other side is going through. And you're supposed to be able to retain the option to be in the organic or the digital, but I don't know that the rule set as far as going to or from has been very clearly defined.
Nothing is clearly defined in here. We don't even know the rules that we're playing by.
Or they're all made up. Yep. So yeah, just some thoughts. Food for thought. You got anything else?
No, I didn't have anything to begin with.
That was your idea.
It was not my idea.
Alright, people. Thanks
Video
for,
is not my idea.
thanks for hanging out. Peace.